This is a video on graphing a piecewise function. Here you can see that we have a function that is piecewise because it has three different pieces to it, depending on what interval we're using for our inputs. So we want to figure out how to graph these. So first of all, we need a grid. And the idea here is make a t-table and look at each piece individually. So I'm going to look at this first portion, and I'm only going to look at inputs that are less than or equal to -1. So I put down some inputs over here in my t-table, -1, -2, and -3. We're going to evaluate that function using this expression 2x plus 3. So I have 2 times -1 plus 3, which is 1. And I'm going to do that for each one of those inputs. So 2 times -2 plus 3 is -1, and 2 times -3 plus 3 is -3. Now you have three ordered pairs that we can graph over here in the grid. And so I do that. And now I'm going to connect these, and I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to be connecting going down this linear function. While it's true that we read a graph from left to right, this interval here is saying that I want things that are less than -1, so I'm actually going to draw it this way. And so there it goes. I just drew that function, that piece of the function. And now we're going to move on to the second group there. So I erased everything in my t-table because I now want to look at the second piece of that function. And I'm looking at inputs between -1 and 3. So I put integers, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And this, of course, is a very boring piece of it. It just returns 5. Every single input has an output of 5. You might be saying right now, well, wait a minute. Whoops. You might be saying that right here you can't have -1 because this says not -1, but that means that in the graph we're going to use open circles at those points. So I'm going to put an open circle at -1, 5, and an open circle at 3, 5, and then I'm connecting everything between. And so that's what that second piece looks like. It's saying that the output is 5 for everything between -1 and 3, not including -1 and not including +3. Now I erase the t-table, and I'm going to move on to the third piece of this function. And this time I'm going to be looking at inputs that are +3 and above. So over here I put in +3, then I put 3.5 and 4. And I realize that this piece of the function just squares it. So 3 squared is 9, 3.5 squared is 12.25, and 4 squared is 16. You might be wondering why I did this, and that's because my graph does not go up to 16, but I did figure out, well, I want at least 2 points on this grid, so I put those 2 points, and the 4/16 off the page. And then I remember that x squared is a parabola, so I know this is kind of parabolic. So I do a bit of a curve that looks a bit like a parabola. And there I have it, the graph of a piecewise function.